My wife's sister told everyone at dinner she could have done so much better than him. I smiled and said, probably. Then I withdrew my investment from their family business. The bankruptcy filing came 3 months later. I, 38 male, need to get this off my chest because the fallout has been intense. My wife Jenna, 36, and I have been married for 8 years. Good marriage, solid partnership. Her family? That's where things get complicated. Her sister Deirdre, 41, has always had this thing about me. I'm an accountant who does freelance consulting. Not glamorous, but I make decent money and I'm good at what I do. Deirdre married Garrett, 3, who inherited his dad's import-export business dealing with specialty fabrics. They live in this pseudo-luxury bubble, leased BMW, designer everything, constantly posting about their blessed life. Here's the thing most people didn't know. 3 years ago, Garrett's business hit major cash flow problems. Chinese suppliers wanted payment up front, buyers were delaying payments, typical squeeze. They needed capital injection fast, or they'd lose their biggest contracts. Jenna begged me to help. Family, right? I had just sold my stake in a software startup. Nothing huge, but a nice 6-figure exit. Against my better judgment, I invested $180 for a 30% stake in the business. Proper contracts, lawyers, everything documented. Became a silent partner, didn't want to deal with day-to-day operations, just quarterly reports and my profit share. Business turned around. My capital injection saved them, and they've been profitable since. I get my quarterly distributions, everyone's happy. Or so I thought. 2 weeks ago we had dinner at Deirdre's for their son's birthday. Nice evening until Deirdre had her 3rd glass of wine. Started talking about how Jenna was always the pretty one and could have married that surgeon from her college days, or that investment banker who was obsessed with her. Then she looks right at me and says, I mean, she could have done so much better than, well, you know, gestures at me. An accountant? Really? She settled hard. Dead silence. Jenna's face went red. Garrett suddenly found his plate fascinating. Their kids, 16M and 14F, looked mortified. I just smiled and said, probably. Deirdre laughed. At least you know it. Finished dinner quietly. Drove home. Jenna was apologizing nonstop. Told her it wasn't her fault. Next morning I called my lawyer. By noon I'd submitted formal notice of my intent to exit the partnership and called in my investment. The contract I'd insisted on 3 years ago had a clause allowing me to exit with 90 days notice and full repayment of my investment plus accumulated interest if I wanted out. I wanted out. Garrett called within 2 hours. Panic mode. Dude, what's this about? We can't just come up with $180K plus interest. That's like $195K. Then you better figure it out. You have 90 days. Is this about what Deirdre said? She was drunk. She didn't mean it. My decision is final. See you at the buyout meeting. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, it's been a circus. Update 1. The entitlement has reached new heights. First, they tried the emotional manipulation route. Deirdre called Jenna crying about how I was destroying their lives over a drunken comment. Jenna held firm, proud of her, and said it was my investment, my choice. Then came the family meeting ambush. Showed up at my Miles' house for what we thought was Sunday lunch. Nope. Intervention-style setup with Deirdre, Garrett, and even their kids. Deirdre's daughter, Kendra, was coached to cry about losing her private school. Their son, Braden, talked about his college prospects. Garrett presented this whole spreadsheet about how they'd need to liquidate assets, might lose the house, etc. My response? Sounds like you should have thought about that before insulting your primary investor. Deirdre lost it. It was a joke. You're really this sensitive? What kind of man ruins a family over hurt feelings? The kind who doesn't need to subsidize people who think he's beneath them. Here's where it got interesting. Garrett let slip that they'd already been shopping for loans. Nobody would touch them. Their credit is maxed, the business real estate is already leveraged, and without my capital keeping things stable, banks saw them as too risky. Then Deirdre said something that sealed their fate. You know what? Fine. We don't need your money. Garrett's business survived before you, it'll survive after. You did us a favor. Now I don't have to pretend to be grateful to you anymore. Garrett's face went white. Deirdre, shut up. No, I'm tired of acting like he's some savior. Anyone could have written a check. He got lucky with that startup exit. He's still just a boring accountant who lucked into my sister. I recorded that whole conversation on my phone, one-party consent state, totally legal. Sent it to my lawyer with a note. Please ensure this buyout is airtight. Last week, they tried a new approach. Started telling people I was vindictive, destroying family over nothing. Posted on social media about family betrayal and money corrupting people. Some of their friends started sending me messages about doing the right thing and being the bigger person. My favorite was from Deirdre's book club friend. Real men don't destroy families over words. Grow up. I responded to exactly none of them, but I did start documenting everything. The 90-day deadline is approaching. They've got 60 days left. From what I'm hearing through Jenna, who's completely on my side but still talks to her mom, they're scrambling. Garrett's trying to find another investor, but nobody wants in. The business model only works with significant capital reserves, and without my stake, they look like a house of cards. Best part? I ran into Deirdre at the grocery store yesterday. She walked right up to me. You won. Happy? You're destroying my children's futures because your ego got bruised. No, I'm collecting my legal investment. What you do with your business after that is your problem. You're pathetic. This is why Jenna should have chosen better. And yet she chose me, the pathetic accountant whose money you were happy to take. She stormed off. The entitlement is absolutely unreal. They genuinely think my money is somehow theirs by default. 60 days to go. Update 2. The desperation has turned into pure insanity. With 30 days left on the clock, Garrett tried to sell partial stakes to other investors. Problem? I own 30% and my contract includes right of first refusal on any sale. Every potential investor who did due diligence found out I was leaving and ran. Nobody wants to get involved in a family business drama where the stable money is walking out. Deirdre attempted what I can only call financial manipulation. She convinced her mother to call me. This sweet 68-year-old woman who's always been kind to me was in tears. I don't understand why you're doing this. Deirdre made a mistake. Can't you forgive family? I gently explained that this was a business decision, not personal. She then said something that made my jaw drop. Deirdre says if you don't stop this, I might have to sell my house to help them. I immediately called Jenna. Turns out, Deirdre had been guilt-tripping their mother, suggesting she might need to take out a mortgage on her paid-off house to save the family business. Jenna went nuclear on her sister. Their relationship is basically over now. 2 weeks ago, things got legally interesting. I got a letter from a lawyer, not Garrett's business lawyer, some ambulance chaser, claiming I was in breach of fiduciary duty as a partner, and that my withdrawal was designed to intentionally harm the business. Threatened to sue for damages. My lawyer laughed. Literally laughed. Sent back a response with copy of the contract showing my legal right to exit. Documentation showing I'd never been involved in operations. Can't breach duty you don't have. The recording of Deirdre saying they don't need my money. A counter-threaty that any frivolous lawsuit would be met with aggressive legal response. Haven't heard from that lawyer since. Last week was the peak. Garrett showed up at my office. Not threatening, just defeated. Look, man to man, we're gonna lose everything. The house, the business, everything. My kids, I can't provide for them. You have a business that was profitable. Figure it out. We used the profits to expand, bought new equipment, hired more people. We assumed your capital was stable. You assumed wrong. That's why contracts exist. Deirdre, she's falling apart. She's on anxiety medication. She can't sleep. Still not my problem. Then he tried the brotherhood angle. Come on, we're family. Your nephew and niece. Think about them. I'm thinking about how their mother thought it was appropriate to humiliate me in front of them. What lesson does it teach if there are no consequences? He left, shoulders slumped. Almost felt bad. Almost. Yesterday, with 10 days left, Deirdre sent a formal apology letter. Not an email, an actual letter. 3 pages of how sorry she was, how she's always been jealous that Jenna found stability while she and Garrett have been struggling to maintain appearances, how the stress of the business made her lash out. Here's the thing, it might have even been genuine, but it ended with, I hope this apology helps you reconsider your decision. Which tells me it wasn't about being sorry. It was about the money. It's always been about the money. Jenna's been incredible through this. She's made it clear to her family that she supports my decision. Said what sealed it for her was them trying to drag her mom into it. We're stronger than ever. 8 days until the deadline. They still don't have the money. Update 3. I genuinely didn't think they could sink lower. I was wrong. Deirdre went full nuclear, created a whole narrative that I've been financially abusing Jenna and controlling her. Started calling Jenna's friends, claiming I isolate her from family, control all the money, and that this business thing is me punishing Jenna's family to maintain control. One of Jenna's friends, Tara, called her concerned. Jenna lost it. Went to Deirdre's house and they had a screaming match that apparently the whole neighborhood heard. Jenna told her that if she spreads one more lie, she'll sue for defamation. But here's the twist I didn't see coming. Garrett's business partner, Rick, owns 20%, reached out to me yesterday. Wants to buy my 30% stake for $200K. More than I'm owed. I was suspicious, so I did some digging. Turns out, Rick's been planning this. He knew Garrett and Deirdre were living beyond their means. He knew they couldn't handle a major capital withdrawal. He's been quietly preparing to take over majority control. If I sell to him, he'll own 50% and can push them out entirely. Rick and I met for coffee this morning. They've been bleeding the company, he said. Expensive business trips that were vacations. Deirdre's on payroll as marketing consultant despite doing nothing. Company credit cards for personal expenses. I've documented everything. Why didn't you act sooner? Needed the right moment. You withdrawing gave me the opening. They can't buy you out, I can, and then I control the board. It's ruthless. It's cold. It's exactly what they deserve. I'll need to review this with my lawyer, I said. Of course, but decide fast. My offer expires when your 90-day notice does. Here's the beautiful part. If I take Rick's deal, Garrett loses control of his father's company. The thing that makes him feel important, gone. And legally, it's all above board. Deirdre doesn't know about Rick's offer yet. She's still scrambling, now trying to get a hard money loan at insane interest rates. Garrett's been calling suppliers, trying to get them to extend credit or invest. Everyone's saying no. Their son Braden reached out to me directly yesterday. Kid's 16, seems decent despite his parents. Uncle, I know Mom was wrong, but could you maybe give us more time? Like 6 months instead of 3. Your parents had 3 years to treat me with basic respect. They chose not to. This is gonna ruin my life too. No, it'll change it. There's a difference. You'll adapt. He hung up on me. Can't blame him. Jenna asked me last night what I'm going to do about Rick's offer. Honestly, I'm taking it. The extra $5 covers my legal fees, and knowing that Garrett will lose the business entirely, that's just poetic justice. Deirdre wanted to act like I was beneath her while taking my money. Now she'll see what happens when the boring accountant decides he's done being disrespected. 2 days left. Already told Rick I'm in. Papers get signed tomorrow. They're about to lose everything, and I'm sleeping just fine. Final update. The bankruptcy filing came exactly 92 days after I withdrew my investment. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The day of the deadline, Garrett called me 18 times. Deirdre sent walls of texts to both me and Jenna. They'd scraped together $140K, borrowed from friends, maxed out everything, even got their church involved. Still $55K short. Their last-ditch effort was showing up at our house at 10 p.m. with a cashier's check for $140K and a promissory note for the rest. Garrett looked like he'd aged 5 years and 3 months. Please, this is everything we have. Take it and give us 6 months for the rest. My deal with Rick closes in the morning. That's when Deirdre learned about Rick. The look on her face, pure shock. Rick? He's buying you out? For more than you owe me, actually. She turned to Garrett. You said Rick was on our side. Garrett just stared at the ground. He knew it was over. The next morning, sold my stake to Rick. Clean transaction. Rick immediately called a board meeting and presented his evidence of financial mismanagement. Voted Deirdre off the payroll and reduced Garrett to a salaried employee with no decision-making power. Garrett could stay and work for Rick or leave and try to start over at 43 with no capital and burn bridges everywhere. He chose to leave. Pride, I guess. Within a month, they'd sold their house, barely broke even with their mortgages. pulled their kids from private school, and Deirdre got a job at a marketing firm making $45K a year. Garrett's working as a sales manager for a textile company. Combined, they're making maybe half what they used to pull from the business. The bankruptcy was personal, not business. Without the business income, and with all the personal debt they'd accumulated maintaining their lifestyle, they couldn't keep up. Chapter 7. Fresh start, but their credit's destroyed for the next decade. Here's the twist though. Braden, their son, reached out last week. Wanted to know if I'd help him understand financial planning. Kid's working part-time, saving everything, determined not to end up like his parents. I agreed to mentor him. Deirdre's furious about it, but she can't stop him. Jenna's relationship with her sister is done. Their mom finally understood what happened when she saw the bankruptcy filing and learned about Deirdre's lies. She apologized to me for taking Deirdre's side initially. Last week, I ran into Garrett at a coffee shop. He looked exhausted. "Rick's turning the company into something Dad would have hated," he said. "All automation and cost cutting. But profitable? Yeah, very. Then Rick's a better businessman than you." He stared at his coffee. "Deirdre still thinks you overreacted. And you? I think we got exactly what we deserved. We bit the hand that fed us." He paused. "I never thanked you for that investment 3 years ago. It saved us. We forgot that." "You didn't forget. You just thought you didn't need to remember." He nodded and left. Deirdre still posts on social media about rising from adversity and learning who real family is. The comments are supportive from people who don't know the whole story. The people who do know, they've distanced themselves. Jenna asked me last month if I had any regrets. "None," I said. "They showed me who they really were. I just showed them what that costs." The funniest part? My consulting business has exploded since this happened. Turns out, business owners respect someone who enforces contracts and doesn't let emotion override good business sense. I've gotten 3 new clients who specifically said they wanted someone who handles business like business. Deirdre was right about one thing. Jenna probably could have married that surgeon or banker, but she married me. The boring accountant who knows the value of respect, contracts, and consequences. And honestly, that's been more than enough. Edit. Since people keep asking, yes, this is legal. Yes, I had everything reviewed by lawyers. No, I don't feel bad. Respect is free. They chose not to give it when they were taking my money. That's on them.